welcome back to the Chief of Self podcast. My name is Mads, and today we are going to be talking about how to get your spark back, how to get that little spark inside of you lit the fuck up, okay? If you're anything like me, there have been seasons in your life where you have felt like you've lost your spark. And to me, this feels like any task is monumental. Like, it is just so hard to even get the smallest of tasks done, and there's so much fuss that I create around it. I also find that my energy when I go out to social obligations or when I'm at a party or whatever, I just feel like dulled. There's this numbness that happens. I don't know, I just don't feel that like fucking spark, like that glimmer, that beaming energy that we all have within us. That's like the glowing from the inside out type of energy. I didn't realize like I really had lost my spark at the end of 2025. The last 6 months really of 2025, when I think back, I was so emotionally drained, physically drained, creatively drained, just drain, all right? And then when you're looking to get your spark back and kick that into high gear, it's not great when everything is drained down to zero. Another word to describe this is misalignment. I just felt so misaligned, whether it was misaligned in my body, misaligned with my mind, or what I was doing career-wise and in Camber, in the company. Just like things weren't aligning. And usually when you have your spark, it feels like everything has clicked into place. Like, you know what it feels like, right? It just has this energy of, I got you. I got it. It's clicking. There's an unlock, right? I'm always in pursuit of the unlock. I know life isn't that way, and it fucking sucks that it isn't that way, but I love an unlock. I love when things just fucking click into place and make sense, and finally all the hindsight comes into place, and the hindsight becomes 2020, and you're like, that made sense. Got it. Clocked it. Unlocked. All right. So I'm always in pursuit of that. I understand that life is not always like that. It's kind of like really annoying that life is not like that. But the unlock feels like getting my spark back. One thing I want to note is losing your spark doesn't feel like depression. I think that's like a whole separate thing and emotion and state of being. Losing your spark just is when you don't feel like yourself. So you're not in this like depressive episode or depression state. It's more, again, of these subtle misalignments. Maybe your brain fog all the time, or your gut is just fucked up like mine is. And there just is so much dysregulation happening in all different areas of your life. And it can be hard to understand where to start to get that spark back, because it can kind of feel like every single area of your life is going up in flames and feels so misaligned that you're like, fuck, how do I tackle all of this at one time? And the answer is that you're not going to. All right, I'm going to give you the answer to get your spark back. Now, let's talk about why we lose our spark. All right. Of course, there's something called hormones. I have been dealing with so many hormonal fluctuations lately. I think I documented this on the last episode, but I went on spironolactone. Now I'm off spironolactone. Then I've been using like hormonal support to make sure I don't get hormonal acne. Like, the hormones are going like this, baby. And then, God willing, Baruch Hashem, I really want to be pregnant this year. That's gonna be a whole other roller coaster. Beware of pregnant hormonal meds. Okay, I'm saying that to myself. I'm a little fearful, but I'm also very excited. So anyways, the hormones are all out of whack, and they will cause you to lose your fucking spark, all right? So just know there are some external factors. There are obviously a lot of internal factors, but there are external factors at play here. Also, big identity transitions, big life things, right? I got married last year, transitioned from being engaged to a wife. There's just like big moments. I think after you plan a wedding and have such a monumental milestone, although I never felt like such a true, what do they call it? Not postpartum, because that's after having a child, but like basically postpartum of having your wedding, where you kind of have this come down. I didn't experience that as much, but it is true that they're like, is this loss? Like there's this emptiness of like, what do I have to look forward to now? Which is like kind of dark, but it does have that energy of like, wait, I can't believe this like milestone thing that I've planned so long and that's like once in a lifetime is over. And so you kind of fall into this like weird identity crisis, if you will. Other things I've noticed is alcohol. I know. I am bummed as well that this is something that will decrease your spark. All right. Alcohol, I have an interesting relationship with alcohol, and I feel like I need to do a whole other podcast episode about that. But I've noticed that when I don't drink alcohol, my spark is sparking. Okay, my spark is sparkling off the charts. It's so funny because there's times when I drink and when I drink wine or whatever, where I'll get so social, I'll get so bubbly, and my personality kicks in and I feel as though I'm this higher version of myself, which is obviously artificial and so not the case. You're just basically like numbing out your authentic self and trying to use alcohol as a crutch. But it can be disguised as a spark. You know what I mean? Like sometimes if I'm a little low energy or in a social situation where I'm uncomfortable, like I'll reach for a drink because I know that it'll like kick up this bubbly personality up into high gear. And again, it's an artificial spark, But when I don't drink alcohol for a very, prolonged amount of time, like right now I haven't drank in 3 weeks, which I'm trying not to drink until my honeymoon just because I want to feel my best. And I typically do feel my best when I don't drink for a bit. And wow, what a difference. Kind of sucks, I know, but it really does make a difference. And then you realize like how much you don't need the alcohol. Like, yeah, there's some situations where I could have had fun with it, but you're still you. And you is so perfect as you are. Like literally you don't need alcohol to be bubbly and have your spark. That's just a limiting belief that we've placed on ourselves and that we think that we need it. But if you just talk to your inner self in that moment, just like understand that it's a form of resistance and an excuse. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But I've been listening a lot more to the excuses I tell myself and the beliefs I tell myself and like challenging them, because our thoughts are not really real. Like if you really look into it, we can think whatever we want. We can rewrite our beliefs and reprogram our minds. So anytime you think a thought, just take a step back and be like, do I actually believe this? Or is this an excuse? Am I just telling this to myself to get out of something else, right? Like your brain is always going to tell you lies. And I know it's like a little annoying to hear that. And it's a bit of this like harsh love, but the past couple weeks have been so in tune to my inner dialogue and my inner critic. And anytime the critique comes out, the fierce Mads, if you will, she comes out, she's saying something mean, she's not being very nice, okay? I take a step back and I like kind of have my higher self kick into gear and be like, is this true? Like, do I look ugly today? Or is that just a unconscious kicked in, my inner critic has been reinforced for years and years and years, and it's just like an automatic thought? Or can I challenge that in this moment and decide and choose to think another thought? If you want to learn more about this mechanics of everything I'm just saying, it's a phenomenon. It's like a school of thought, I guess, called internal family systems, where essentially internally you have a whole family and all these different parts of you are talking to you at all times, but like your higher self is the one that's true. It's like the inner wisdom that's like can quiet all of those different parts of you. And all those parts, again, have been reinforced over time and developed just from years and years and years of ingrained behaviors and beliefs. Anyways, I digress. Typically now, whenever I tell myself an excuse, whether it's alcohol, whether it's overeating, whether it's binge watching a show, whether it's doom scrolling, like all these things that you know will not serve you or will not contribute to getting your spark back, examine the excuses and that little voice that's like, oh, let's go just drink, have one drink. Like, oh, let's go. Like just examine like what is it what is it telling you? What do you actually need in this moment? Okay, I want to grab a drink. What does that mean? I want to relax and I don't want to do any more work right now, and if I drink, then that's like a excuse to then not do work. Great, so why don't we just pause work and say we're done for the day and close the laptop? We can give ourselves what we want and desire, but it's being masked as these excuses. So really, really have to get honest with yourself. Which brings me perfectly to my next point, which is getting honest with yourself. So, as I said, when you've lost your spark, it can feel like all these different aspects of your life are crumbling down. And it's really hard to be like, I need to tackle each of them and I need to tackle all of them at once. But really, what's happening is you're not being honest with yourself. And once you start to do that, once you start to get still, I want to ingrain this in your head. Like, I promise you, if you allow yourself to get still, and I know this is going to sound woo-woo, and I know you might be rolling your eyes, but you can find all the answers within. I know the answers lie within. It's so cheesy, but you're going to be able to find the answers once you are still. And the honesty starts to come up, the transparency starts to come up with yourself. It is so uncomfortable. It can get really, really tender at times, but it's so necessary because basically what you're doing is solving the root of the problem. There's obviously something stuck and blocking your spark from coming online, right? And so by doing this more getting honest type of work, you're going to understand the actions and principles and the guidance and the actual direction and advice that you're supposed to take in that moment. Like you're going to uncover that when you get still. Because let me tell you, when you are always overstimulated, you're not going to hear anything that your wisdom is going to tell you. When you are constantly being inundated with information, there is no room for your own motherfucking thoughts. There is no room for your own wisdom and intuition. There is no room for you to even like process anything that's happening in your life, all right? I've been there. I still do it all the time, all right? I'm not saying I'm perfect at this, but I have really, really seen a difference when I choose to be still and listen to myself and get so honest. And this is not like honest, like, oh, I want a bubble bath right now. No, like this is like fucking honest, okay? So the first step to getting your spark back is getting still enough to hear yourself again. How I do this, there are several ways. Number one, you can raw dog a walk. Yes, you can go on a walk. You can listen to music, maybe some calming music, but don't listen to a podcast. Just raw dog the walk, okay? Let your thoughts wander, all right? Or sit in front of a journal. You guys know I love a journal. And I didn't want to talk about this yet, but I guess I will just allude to it. I'm currently doing a 28-day challenge for a new journaling practice called Journal Speak. And I'll talk a little bit about later why I love little challenges for yourself and setting those like little milestones or like little challenges, because the streaks, I mean, we're human. Like we want streaks, we want goals, right? So I love doing little challenges because there's like an end date in sight. And then typically because we like to, trick our brains a little bit. Typically, once you're done with the challenge, you'll continue it because you've already developed the habit. Okay. So that's a little, brain hack for you. But I've been doing this new journaling called Journal Speak. It is a practice developed by Nicole Sachs. I just read her book called Mind Your Body. I was initially introduced to it by Elizabeth Endress. She's the host of The Wellness Process, also was the co-founder of Sweats in the City. And she has one of my favorite podcasts, and basically she had chronic pelvic pain for like 5 years. She went to every doctor, she had seen every specialist, and what cured it was nervous system regulation and emotional root discovery, basically. So what that means is through Journal Speak, it is this practice where you journal, but it's very intense journaling. It's not your like, I'm grateful for blah, 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 like very, feel good journaling. It is literally diving deep into your childhood, certain, not like crazy trauma. Like you obviously can get into your traumas, but like little triggers and little things that just you're so scared to say, so you repress them. The things you're like most ashamed to admit out loud, the most disgusting parts of yourself. Like it is this cathartic, like very intense journaling practice. And the premise is that once you just like get that gunk out, get that shit out of you, you have to walk through it. You can't keep repressing it. Your pain, that is essentially the root of your pain, all of that emotional buildup. And through Journal Speak, it's a way to kind of get it out of your body. I believe this wholeheartedly. If you need more convincing about this, I encourage you to read her book. I believe, like nervous system deregulation is so real. And I think emotional and somatic healing is like, I think the root of all the problems. So why I say this is like, when I say that when you've lost your spark and you feel like everything is going wrong, I do believe this, like, there's a root of your emotional reservoir, as Nicole Sachs says, it is overspilling. It is just overwhelmed. And through a practice like this, and why I didn't really want to talk about it, because I want to discuss it once I'm done with the 28-day challenge, but I'm already seeing like such beautiful results. You just feel this lightness. And at first I was a little worried because it's like pretty intense journaling, and I didn't want to like start my day that way or in like a negative way, or I worried it was going to like linger throughout the day and expose all these wounds and just like crack myself open. And yes, the first couple of days were very raw, but you just notice that like your heart feels a lot lighter. And I've been seeing like my spark coming back, a little bit of that zest for life, that excitement, because I'm not weighed down by these like repressed, disgusting thoughts. Like you need to unleash those. So whether that's through journaling, and you don't need to do Journal Speak. I mean, I think it's amazing, but you can do it in other ways. Voice note something. You can go to therapy, obviously. I mean, even just the walk where you're just thinking, just letting yourself just move through those emotions. Going back to the parts work, the internal family systems, really how I've been approaching this is every time I have, a thought that doesn't serve my highest self, that will make me lose my spark and go back 5 steps backwards, I always ask, like, why are you here? I like take a moment and say, why are you here? What do you need in this moment? Why that's so amazing is because you approach it with curiosity, not judgment. You don't condemn this part of yourself, because like that just causes the shame loop even more. But you just ask, thank you for coming. Like, I can take it from here. Let me know what you need at this moment. Like, I'm happy to hear you out. I'm listening. I'm no longer going to ignore you. Let me hear what you have to say. And then I'm an adult and I'm going to take the reins from here. Like, there is just this calming, instead of just like succumbing to our impulses and just like completely giving over our power to these, again, numbing mechanisms like binge eating, alcohol, TV, all that. Let's talk about tangible things that actually worked, all right? Because although the getting still is like the most crucial part of this, and really, really getting honest with yourself and asking those questions, maybe during doing the journal speak, these are some tools that through that process of getting still, my body just told me that I needed in order to heal. And look, I did these things, and the first couple weeks, you're not going to see results, and it fucking sucks, all right? But you keep going. You keep going. When you're bloated, you keep going. When you're tired, you keep going. When you don't see results, you keep going. Like, that is the sweet spot. You have to get through the shit, and it will last longer than you're comfortable with. But I swear to you, like, once you get over that shit, and it's kind of like a bell curve, like, then you're just like, oh, whoa, holy shit. Like, the spark is back. Like, the spark starts to sparkle. All right, you're a little diamond in the rough. We are brushing it off, all right? And there's gunk, and then we see a little sparkle. Okay, so these are things. I regulated a lot of my inputs. So, as I said, I limited alcohol. And again, as I mentioned, sucks, but it does work. Another one, limiting caffeine. I know I mentioned it last episode. I was drinking like 4 matchas a day. I never did that before. And noticed it was, again, when I got honest with myself and I sat there, I said, why am I drinking so much matcha? And I was like, I love the way it feels. I love this like little high that I get. And also I always have to have a little drinky drink, and just nothing else matches that same consistency as matcha does. So I started to think, okay, Mads, like, let's look into alternatives, caffeine-free alternatives, maybe some Four Sigmatic, like mushroomy things, so you can get a little bit of that like high, if you will, but without caffeine. And then I also got this like turmeric latte-y type of thing. So that's caffeine-free. That is not like tea, but it's an alternative. So there's just, again, getting honest, sitting with yourself and asking the questions like, why am I having 5 matchas a day? Okay, it's because of X, Y, and Z. All right, so let's find alternatives and let's figure out a way to like still satisfy that need, that desire of like wanting to feel energized all day and also wanting a little drinky drink. We can find an alternative. The next one was fewer social plans. So at the end of last year, I did notice that my spark was really gone once I completely drained my social battery. Now, I have a rule where I don't typically go out on weeknights. Maybe only once a week is my rule. And I love that. And it has really served me well this past like month and a half. I think all of January and February, I really stuck to that rule, and it has felt amazing. And I didn't realize how much I needed that until I instated that rule. I also intentionally create space. So that means weekends that are wide open, or at least Sundays that are wide open. I'm talking not even one social obligation or any obligation, like wide open. Like, there is nothing that fuels my soul more than having a wide open Sunday. Embracing boredom. I say this all the time, but when you are bored, really just listen to what the boredom is telling you. And it's like fine to be uncomfortable and be bored. It's totally fine. I'm really embracing it. When I notice I'm bored, I get so thankful, because I'm like, if I'm about to have kids soon, I'm never going to be bored again in my life. Like, this is amazing. This is probably the last time I'll ever be bored. Like, and so you just really, start to see things in a different light and be excited about the concept of boredom, and just be like, damn, I'm bored right now. Like, that is awesome. Like, that's a privilege to be bored, right? So I've been loving embracing boredom. And then, as always, less content consumption. Again, if you are just constantly inundated, you're doom scrolling at any downtime, any moment you have a downtime, when you're in line for something, when you're at a stoplight, like any moment, why are we stuffing our brains with all this? Like, let your mind wander. Like, let yourself just have a moment. And yeah, there are times, of course, when I'm doing the dishes, I'm listening to a podcast, or I'm cleaning up, and it's like, yes, if like it makes dreary activities more fun, of course, and that's fine. But like, you'll know. And again, this is about being honest with yourself and being very, very brutally honest with yourself. Are you picking up the phone just to pass the time and to distract yourself or whatever? Or are you, and can you put it down and just like really catch yourself and be mindful in those moments? Another thing I like to think about is future self decisions. So any decision I make, I think, will my future self thank me for this? And that has been such an amazing framework to dictate any behavior or action I do. What I love about it is that it's not regimented, it's not restrictive. Like best friend Lauren asked me like, "Oh, what are, cuz I wasn't eating sugar or like I wasn't eating like the dessert at this one thing we were at." She's like, "What are you doing right now like for your diet?" And I was like, "No, I'm not doing anything restrictive. I'm just thinking about my future self." Like my future self would be so bloated, would be in so much pain if I ate this or if I drank this. Like I just wouldn't feel my best tomorrow, and I don't want to do that to her. And so thinking about your future self in all of these moments, like I don't know, it's a motivation for me. It makes me feel so excited to then wake up the next day and be like, fuck yeah, I'm so happy I didn't drink. Like I feel great. We've been talking a lot about the inner dialogue. I have been doing so much work to shift my inner dialogue. It's so fucking hard, guys. I'm so here with you. We all have the worst inner critic. It's actually concerning. Like it's concerning how bad it's gotten. And so again, I make a very conscious effort whenever I'm in that shame spiral, in that negative thought loop with the inner critic. I will pause, I will ask it what it actually needs and just kind of uncover the deeper meaning of it and really try to release it and say, thank you for showing up. I'm not shaming you or anything, but just like, I'm going to take the reins for now. I'm going to get into the driver's seat right now. It's a constant negotiation. It's a constant monitoring, and it fucking sucks. I get it, but you need to do that constant monitoring until it becomes autopilot, because one day it will. It will become autopilot. You have to be gentle with yourself and patient with yourself, because you have to understand these thoughts have been ingrained in you for probably decades, right? So you are trying to unlearn decades of ingrained thought patterns. It's so hard, okay? But that's why it requires so much self-surveillance and monitoring. But it's so worth it, because I want my inner dialogue to be my greatest cheerleader. Like I want her to be amped up and be my biggest motivator, and I want it to feel like a fucking party in my head. I want it to be so happy and exciting in my head. Like no one else is going to hear your thoughts. So like why wouldn't they be good thoughts and fun thoughts and motivating thoughts? Another thing I always think about is building inner trust and creating these habits and behaviors that enforce that. And this is where you could do the little challenge. So you could pick one little thing for your future self that will develop that inner trust. So for me, it's been making my bed in the morning, and it's been not watching TV to fall asleep. So those two things I tasked myself the past week. It was like a little challenge I was doing, and I've done it every day. And now it's like starting to feel like part of my identity. I'm like, oh, I'm the girl that wakes up and makes the bed in the morning. It's just like, oh, automatic. That's what I do. When I'm going to bed, like yesterday, I really, really wanted to watch TV. I was just like, oh, I just like don't want to sit here and like wait to fall asleep. And I was like, nope, Mads, you're making excuses. You're having, I did the whole loop. And then I talked to myself. I said, look, it's not going to be that bad. We're just going to lay here. We're going to think nice thoughts. And I just went to sleep and I fell asleep. All right. So it's just, again, a constant negotiation. But these little challenges, and they might seem small, they show yourself that you can show up for yourself, and they build that inner trust. So this is how you know that you have gotten your spark back. It's when you feel this insane alignment with yourself. It's when you know who the fuck you are. Like right this week, my spark is sparked, okay? I know who I am. I've been doing so much inner work as you can tell from this podcast, but I just have this innate self-trust. I know that when I set my mind out to do something, I'm going to follow through because I've proven to myself that I can. And I also have just been so intentional about bringing awe and joy and honesty into my life that it now just feels like second nature. And that's what the spark is. Like my spark feels like all those awe moments and giddiness, that's my spark. And so I can tap into her whenever. You'll also notice it with the energy you bring into different rooms. And I notice this with myself. Like I know so clearly when my spark is back when I enter a room and I am just so confident. I'm myself. It's not about being the loudest person in the room. It's not about being, again, that like bubbly, 2 glasses of wine deep type of spark. It's this like grounded, confident, like listening really well. I'm just in tune with people. I'm in tune with myself. Like there's this again alignment that happens and you feel it. I also want to say something that I remind myself a lot about because as I do so much inner work, I sometimes think like, am I just doing this like for myself? Like this is like kind of, is this, I don't believe it's selfish, but just like, does it feel like I'm just doing too much on myself and not for others? But what I want to say is that when you have your spark back, oh my God, does it radiate to everyone in your life, all right? You will then radiate this energy, this sparkiness, and other people are going to start to get motivated to get their sparks back. They're also going to they're going to feel the spark off of you. So it multiplies, it radiates. So by you doing this work and by you getting your spark back, like it is your fucking birthright to get your spark back because that's the way you're going to service others. Like it will ripple effect to everyone. So you owe it to yourself and to everyone around you to get your spark back. Thank you so much for listening. I love this topic and I have friends in my life that have asked like, I feel like I've lost my spark. What do you do to get it back? And I really hope there were some tangible things you could take from this because it can feel very abstract. But really, if you just take into heart and get still and get honest with yourself, like the spark is within you. We're lighting the match. I'm going to get the matchbook and we're going to spark it up. All right. All right. I love you so much, my dear selfie. And I will see you next week. Bye.